Good morning, dear Stitchers. It's Judy with JBW Designs, and I want to welcome you back to my FlossTube channel. This is episode number 99, which is kind of amazing in a way. I thought when I did the first one I'd do one or two, and it is Tuesday. I have to think about the date because I'll tell you the story. November 18th. So I recorded a whole video yesterday, and I finished it, and it wasn't there. I don't know what happened. When it doesn't happen, thankfully, very often, but when it does, you have to kind of take a deep breath and say, okay, I can do this again. I practiced it once. Hopefully it'll be better this time, and I hope it works. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Let's see. First of all, I always like to thank you for coming and taking the time to watch my videos. I know you have a lot of choices, and also for your wonderful emails and comments and letters. It's just such a delight to hear from you, so thank you. Since I'm so close to video number 100, I'm planning on doing a big giveaway at that time. I'm hoping I can do another one in a few weeks. We know what it's like this time of year. It's a little crazy, isn't it? So what do I want to talk to you about today? Well, as always, I have a number of topics. And the first thing that I want to address is all the comments, or some of them, that were made in the last video, which I always find so interesting. So one of our viewers, Valerie, wrote to say that she met me 5 years ago at Needlework Galleria, and she purchased the 'Twas the Night Ornament series. And she told me at that time what she had planned to do, and it was very ambitious. She wanted to stitch 5 of each one of those 12 designs to give to her children and grandchildren. And she just wrote in the last video and said she has one more to go. And when I answered her, I kind of wrote back and I said, I'm guessing that in some cases these charts you have almost memorized because you've done them so often. So thank you, Valerie, for such a giant effort and such a wonderful gift for your family members. The next comment was from Kathy, and she made a comment about how many of our viewers are newer to cross stitch. Either they did cross stitch a long time ago, or they've just taken it up, or actually we have a lot of really young people who are stitching, which is just wonderful. And I think that's why, and I'll talk to you about this, about the survey I kind of did in the last video. It's why so many people, when I show the older patterns, are quite interested in them because they hadn't seen them before. So that's good to know, because I like showing you some of the things that I've done in the past, and I'm thinking about actually redoing a few of them. So I kind of took a rough survey of what people liked from the last video of the older booklets. And I don't have all the samples here for various reasons. I had to loan a couple of them out. But the one that got the most votes was A Very Merry Winter. And it turns out that people just love snowman patterns. And so I definitely will put this one up at the top of the list. And then another one that got a lot of votes was Jolly Old St. Nick. And I think it was probably because this was a design that was, you can just buy any old placemat, that was mounted on a placemat. It had a place to put a plate with cookies for Santa, a note for Santa, and it even had a little pocket to put a carrot in. So that was high on the list. The other one that I don't have to show you was the wedding announcement, which is actually, I'm restitching that right now. It's very small. I'd say it's no more than 4 by 6. And I think what appealed to people is that they knew that it was a design that they could finish in a short amount of time. And then the other three that garnered votes were Child's Train design and the grandson and granddaughter design. So thank you for your input. I really appreciate that. And then the other thing that I want to mention, let's see if I can find it here. I had to reorganize again, is that one of our viewers, Ron, in the last video, had stitched and framed this design, Flights of Fancy. And when I talked about and showed the picture of his finished piece, I had not written down on my notes who had done this. So Ron, I want to thank you so much. Your stitching and your finishing were just lovely. So now my next topic is always viewer finishes. And this is so much fun. In fact, I even got one last night that I could add to the pile. So the first one is from Karen, and she, I know this picture is very small, but if I get it close, you might be able to see it. She stitched the rose motif sampler, and what was so beautiful about this is she stitched it in blue, and she had Total Framing in Virginia do the frame, and the frame is just stunning. It's a lovely gray blue that just exactly matches the color of her floss. And Rose Motif Sampler booklet looks like this. It's one of the older designs, but it is still in print. Then the next one that, let's see who sent this in. I have to look at my notes. This is from Ginger, and she did the alphabet floral design, and she did it in a classic Colorworks color called Blue Corn, which is just a lovely, lovely shade. It's kind of, I would say, almost a bluish gray. I'm going to have to look at my floss to find it because I thought it was quite stunning. And Floral Alphabet looks like this. So that's what I love about the posts that I see, is that people choose different colors and different fabrics to stitch the designs, and it really enhances and changes everything, and it gives us ideas too. So I have a couple pictures here to show you. This actually has been appearing frequently lately. This is from a recent release called Autumn Harvest, and I've been showing it for the last couple videos, but people just seem to really love it, and the finishes that are coming in are just stunning. So this is one from Cheryl, and I'm going to show you this picture first because it's kind of a close-up. So she used the same board that I did to do her finishing, and this board is made by Chantel's 141, and I will make sure to put that in my notes below in case you want to go onto her website. She has many beautiful finishing items. And then she did something a little different than I did. She wove ribbon through the little holes that are part of that wooden piece. And then I wanted to show you, she also sent a picture of the vignette that she had, which is just stunning, of that design with her pumpkins and her antique clock and another fall design. I just thought how beautiful that was. So thank you, Cheryl, for sending that. And then this was kind of a funny one. So I also received this picture this week in an email from a friend named Karen, and at first I didn't recognize her last name, and she just wrote me a letter. Actually she's a friend that I see when we go to Florida. So she does the most gorgeous finishing. And she finished this as a box, so it has depth to it. And she put little wooden balls on the base for the feet of it. And then look at the top. It has acorns and leaves, and isn't that just stunning? I just love that finish. So thank you, Karen, for sending that to me. Then the next designs I'm going to show you, I'm sorry to say, are in another book that's out of print. But, you know, people either keep these in their stash or they find them someplace. But Jenny did, I'll show you what she did. She did the Halloween ornaments. And there are actually 12 ornaments in this set. I'm going to show you the books in a minute. And each booklet has 4 designs in it. And originally when I displayed them, I had like a little metal tree that I would hang them on, but I've also put them on a Halloween fall wreath, and they looked beautiful on that. So you can see her finishing up close here. I just thought those turned out beautifully, so thank you, Ginny. And this is what the 3 booklets look like. So here's Halloween Ornaments 1 and 2 and 3. So it was fun, always fun to see the finishes. And then this is the one that I got this morning. And this was so much fun. So this is from Anne, who is a shop owner in Canada. And Anne and I have seen each other at trade shows for years. And she told me, I'm going to fold this a little bit. She told me the last time I saw her that she was working on a lot of my Christmas ornaments. So I want you to see how many she has finished. It's just stunning. So the interesting thing is she had glaucoma surgery, I don't know, a month or so ago probably, and she wasn't sure how much stitching she'd be able to do while she was recovering. So she said to me what I found was that if I stitched in a single color, that I could do it. So I don't know how long it's taken her. I mean, she must have 14 or 15 of the designs right here. And one that I thought was so clever is she took the mitten design and she worked it in both to the right and to the left and has them hanging on a little cord. So isn't it fun to see what our viewers do? So the next thing I have to tell you about is a magazine that was sent to me by one of our viewers named Kathy. And she wrote just such a sweet little note with this, and I'm going to read part of it to you so you'll understand where this came from. A friend was clearing out some older publications. She passed them to me so that I could look through them. Imagine my surprise when I got to page 30 and saw a familiar face. I thought you might like to have it. And then she wrote a longer note with it. But so what she sent me, and I'm so grateful, Kathy, because I do not have this issue in my collection. This was from July 2009, and it's Cross Stitch and Needlework magazine. And it's quite a long article, actually. I had to laugh because it has my picture in here. I have aged a lot since then, but I guess we all have, right? The years go by. So it was such a neat thing to see because the article featured quite a few of my designs. So I'll show you what was in the article in the magazine. So French Country Pear was in there, French Country Rooster. This design, I'm not sure what booklet it's from. I'm going to have to look for it. It might be in one of the ornament booklets now, but I'll do a search for it. And then also they featured the French Country Hen in 2 different colorways, the French Country Baby Carriage, a couple of the mittens. Let's see what else is here. They featured my Advent calendar, which I pulled out that booklet today because someone wrote to me with a question about this, and I was able to find the answer, thank goodness. This is called Shoe Shopper, that's out of print. And then these designs right here are out of print, but there's our little Very Merry Winter Snowman. So he looks awfully cute there. And then I must take a sip of tea. I'm getting hoarse, right? So then in the magazine, I also included a design, and it's called Let's Go to the Beach. And I'll have to look to see if this is still available. Long time ago, I used to have someone who made aprons for me. So this is mounted on an apron as like a piece across the front. And so anyhow, thank you, Kathy. That was really fun to see the magazine and to kind of look at the article that was written. It was very sweet. All right, now, what is my next topic? It's actually stockings. And I don't know why, but I have made so many stockings over the years. I have two large ones. I'll show you one of those. I have a series, and then when I started looking through all my models, I found, like 8 or 10 more little designs. So I must really love stockings. So I'm going to pull out kind of in some kind of order here some of the stockings from the first series. So the first series was called Sing a Song of Christmas. And actually, when I started out, these were all individual books. And there are 15 stockings in the series. And I didn't do them all at once. I did them over quite a few years. I would release 2 or 3 at a time. And the very first one I'll show you. I have it here in my selection of models to share with you. But a year ago, I thought, well, I think I'm going to put all of the stockings into one booklet. So here's the cover, and then on the back of the booklet you can see that all the stockings are pictured, and then I'll show you a few on the inside because the pictures are really nice. So there's a nice big photograph of what the design looks like. This is a little town of Bethlehem. And then on the opposite page, opposite this, is the chart, and it's quite large, that goes with this design. So that came out, as I say, a year ago. Now I'm going to show you some of the individual ornaments. And let's see if I can get this organized here. So it actually, the series is a combination of Christmas hymns and then Christmas songs. So the first one is called We Three Kings. And you'll see a variety of finishes. These were all professionally finished. There are ruched ribbon finishes, there are chenille, there's twisted cording, so you could use any number of trims to finish these. And if you're wondering, how do I go about finishing myself a stocking shape? And I've mentioned this before, but maybe it's worth telling you again, in case we have new viewers, that once you stitch your design, if you just place it face down on your printer and make a paper copy of that design, and what that's going to do, it's going to give you a template for the shape of the stocking. So you're going to cut around that and form your own little stocking shape, looking at what you've already stitched, which you have now in paper form, and you'll be able to take your comic board, which is what I use for finishing, and mount your stitched piece on with one part of the comic board. And I always put a little batting or felt beneath my stitched piece, and then you're going to take your backing and cover the second board with that, and then you can just glue those together and put the trim around the outside edge. If that is too swift a description for you, just let me know and I can address it in another video. So this is what the We Three Kings booklet looks like. So the next one, actually, I always think of, this was the very first one, is called Over the River. I always like this song. And so this has a little house in it, and a barn, and a church, and I just pictured just exactly what the song says. Each of the stockings only feature the first line of the song. And I think of this actually as more of a Thanksgiving song of going over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house, but this is what the booklet looks like. And this design is finished in a chenille, which is a great finish because you can just glue it on. All right, the next one I want to show you is Here Comes Santa Claus, and the booklet looks like this. And here's our little Santa. I use French knots for his beard, and if you don't like doing French knots, I always tell my viewers to try beads instead, because there are people who find French knots just very challenging and maybe a little annoying, I'm not sure, but you'll have to tell me what you think of them. All right, the next design is I Saw Three Ships. And these are so much fun to design because I think about the title of the song and what you might picture in that hymn or song. And so, of course, I have my little ships in there. You can see the seashore. And here is the booklet for this design. The next one is called O Little Town of Bethlehem, which I showed you earlier in the large booklet. And this is what it looks like. Here's the backing. If you see Velcro, that's because I use these for display. And this is what the booklet looks like for this one. And this also has a chenille trim on it. All right, the next one is Away in a Manger. And let me show you the model first. This has the ruched ribbon. Incidentally, all of these stockings were stitched on 32 count fabrics over 2 threads. And you could do it on a 28 or an 8, it would work just as well. And I used different color fabrics. I used latte for this one. I used antique white for some of them. So you just have to choose your favorites. So here is our Way in a Manger. And this is what the booklet looks like. All right, I think I have 2 more. So here's our little Frosty the Snowman. And this is what the booklet looks like. I usually add if I was doing the finishing, and some of these I'll show you I did do the finishing on. So usually you're going to put your trim around the outside edge, but you need to join it at some point when you're finishing it. So if you join it like in one of the corners and kind of tuck it between those 2 layers of board, then you can put a little bow and a hanger to kind of cover up where that joining might be. So that's just a little hint if you're finishing them for yourself or for gifts. So the next one I want to show you is Hark the Herald Angels Sing. This too was probably worked on a latte, yes it was. And this is what the booklet looks like. So that was the series, the Sing-a-Song series. Now I'm going to show you, oops, I'm going to do one thing because I just spotted this on my desk. So I mentioned earlier that in that magazine article, they had shown the Advent calendar. And this was designed a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. And I've probably shown it before. I should bring up the large one to show you. Actually, I have it in my room with all my models. I bring it out at Christmas time. But if you wanted to do just little tiny ornaments, these are very small. I think they're only like 2 inches square. And I did all of these on a 28 count linen over 2. So they're in, it's hard to see what they are, but the first one is a wreath, the second one is presents, etc. So there are a couple ways that I've had people approach the finishing of the Advent calendar. You could frame it, and I had an idea actually after I had the framing done that I could have put a magnetic board behind the fabric on the mounting board, and so that after you covered that piece, that magnetic board, with your fabric, then you could put a tiny magnet on the back of each ornament and it would stick directly to the overall piece. But I've also had people do them individually as ornaments and just hang them on a tree. So this, just an idea for you, right? All right, now on to more stockings. So as I said, I have a lot. I hope you're stitching and doing something fun while I'm chattering away. So the next set of stockings, as I say, there's quite a variety here. This is called Enchanted Village. And I always, you know me, I like working the designs over 2, but I also like really working them over 1. And when I do my red designs, let's see, I didn't do it here, but some red and white designs, sometimes I'll stitch white floss on red fabric. I have some samples to show you. Or I'll do the reverse, red on white fabric. So this is actually kind of a rosy pink instead. This is the Enchanted Village design, and this is what the booklet looks like. So if you're wanting, I know it's getting too late for you to start anything right now, but maybe put aside some ideas for next July when you're thinking about Christmas in July. So the next one I want to show you is called a sampler stocking, and it is all motifs that I thought of that would be in an antique sampler that sampler lovers might like. So you can see the border at the top, a little bit of an alphabet, a fruit bowl, some other borders, and a house, of course. So this booklet looks like that. And then there's also, let's see, I have to make room for all of my stuff here. There's also a Sampler Stocking 2 design, which is just another version of that first one. So this too has a house and borders and little reindeer. And I would say overall that these are fairly quick to stitch. So here's a sample that I talked about of working white on red. And this one is done over one. The ones that I'm showing you over two, I think I did on a 36. I'll check my books. Let's see, here's the booklet for this one. Okay, here's the design with red on white. So I did the over 2 on a 36 count, and I did the over 1 on 28, although once in a while now I have been doing my over 1s on 25 because it's just a little easier to see. I love actually the white on red. I think it's quite striking. So here's another design that is a stocking, and this again was so much fun to put together. So this is called a Stitcher's Stocking, and I love what Karen, my finisher, did. She put a little tiny silver hand on here. So the motifs that appear in this little stocking, there's a tomato, there's a sewing bird, there are many scissors, there's letters, a thimble, a book, oh gosh, I'm just drawing a blank, stork scissors, a needle and thread, pin cushions, what else is in here, bobbins, a pair of glasses. You know, I just love finding all those motifs and trying to fit them into one piece. So this is what the Stitcher's Stocking pattern looks like. Okay, I think I only have 3 more to go on stockings. This is called a Quaker stocking. And you know right now that Quaker designs are very, very popular. And they're fun, actually. I'm actually stitching one for myself. It's not my own design. And many times, like along the edge of this sampler, you'll see, instead of a full motif, you'll see like a half motif. And so I just found all kinds of motifs that appeared in Quaker samplers and incorporated them into this booklet. And then the last small one is called a Bristol stocking. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Bristol samplers. Probably many of you are. They actually came about in Bristol, England, and they were done by girls who lived in an orphanage, but one of their things that they were taught was how to stitch. And if you've seen, I know you've seen other people working on them, they are just stunning. They're usually red on white. Most of them are quite large. They usually include many alphabets and then some little motifs. So I just did an adaptation of a Bristol sampler. So I did alphabets, I did numbers, and then at the base I added a couple of motifs. So that's what that booklet looks like. And then I have one more large sampler to show you. All right, I need to move all of my next things over so that I can show you easily. All right, we need to be organized here, right? And this is the last stocking sampler that I wanted to show you. So as I mentioned, I've only done 2 large stockings. This is one, the other is called French Country Stocking, and of course it's completely different. This includes an alphabet and borders, and of course lots of reindeer. It is called the French Country Reindeer Stocking. You can see what a beautiful job my finisher did with cording along the edge and lining on the inside. So for those of you who might be on the hunt for a larger stocking for yourself or a friend, this might be a good idea for the future. This is what the booklet looks like. And actually this booklet, okay, here we go. I can show you a picture. This is the French Country Stocking, which is done in red. And I also did it in a green version, which I completely forgot about. And in this booklet, you will open it up. Let me open it to the full size. And the chart for this design is taking up the whole inside of this booklet, because when it's large, I want you to be able to see it. So the last bit of inspiration I have for you today is a series that I did. Let's see, when did I do this? Only 6 years ago. So I think I've told you before, I love making lists, and I keep lists for what designs have kind of come to mind that I want to tackle someday, and I'll refer back to those lists when I'm getting ready to design things for the next show or set of releases that are coming out. So the 12 Days of Christmas patterns had been on my list for a very long time. And I don't know why. I had to think a long time about how am I going to tackle this. So I'll show you, it's 4 different booklets. Each booklet has 3 designs in it. And I'll show you quickly what the designs look like. Now I finished these and they were not difficult to finish. So I'll show you a few and then we'll talk about the finishing. So this is partridge number 1. Here are the 2 turtle doves. And here are the little 3 French hens. So the finishing on these is actually quite simple. You're going to want to measure them depending on the finished size of your piece. Again, you could make a copy of this. I use a protractor so I can get a nice even round circle. And when I finish these, again, I cut 2 boards, one for the front and one for the backing. And I'm going to cover those boards, putting batting behind the stitching, and then just glue them together, or actually I like to sew them together. I think there's a tighter fit if I sew basting stitches along the edges. And then each of these are finished with twisted cording. I made the hanger out of twisted cording, just a lighter, finer twisted cording than I used on the edges, and then I just added a bow with a pin at the bottom to cover where that cording came together at the base. So that's the first 3, and I think I showed you the booklet. Let's try that, and let's grab the next 3. So here we have 4 calling birds. Once I got started on these, I just really enjoyed it. Here are 5 golden rings. Here are 6 geese a-laying. And this is what book 2 looks like. Now the next set is 7 swans a-swimming. Here we have 8 maids a-milking. And here we had 9 ladies dancing. And booklet 3 in that series looks like this. And then the last set is 10 lords a-leaping. And I had someone write to me a while back asking me why with this design for Lords of Leaping I did a stag. And I think I want to say like ancient English literature, someone will correct me on this, sometimes lords are referred to, or stags are referred to as lords. So that is why I use the reindeer. I know that might be a bit of a stretch, right? Here are 11 pipers piping, and the last one is 12 drummers drumming, and here is the booklet for that. So when I talked about these yesterday, I said, oh no, I wanted to show you something, I forgot to pull it out. Well, the good thing about doing this again is I have pulled out what I want to show you. So it's kind of large, so let me back up here with this. But I bought this a couple years ago at Hobby Lobby, and it's just, I'm going to show you back here. It's just a window, wooden window, and I just put ribbon and greenery at the top of it. Here, let's move this over, and then I had a glitch, and I hope we can keep going. No more glitches are needed. So to mount those 12 Days of Christmas, I used a suction cup that has a hook on it. So I would put the suction cups across here and display the 12 Days of Christmas on a window. So I thought that might be, let me put this down here, it might be a different idea for you. So on to the rest of the video. Oh, I just hope this works today. I don't think I have time to do it a third time. I know I don't. So my next topic is I always have a shop of the week. And this time I chose a shop in Florida, and they are on my automatic, which means they purchase all of the designs that I release. And the owners are Bob and Debbie, and they are just delightful. I see them at market, and I'm going to hold this up a while, so if you needed to take a screenshot, if you happen to be visiting Florida, their shop is lovely. I've seen pictures of it. And then I will put this information in the notes below. But their email address is shop@needleorts.com, and you can get all the information below. Then I always like to award prizes. And so I go back and look at the comments from the last video, and I use a random number generator and pull out 3 names. So the names that I've pulled for our prizes today, and what I give you a wide choice. Any of the patterns that I showed today, if you would like to receive that as a prize, I'm happy to send it to you. I'm just very grateful for you all. So the first winner is Leslie BEN 789. The second winner is Wilma WILMAS Cross CROS, and the third winner is Catherine M7. So to reach me, the best way is to email me, and it's judy@jbwdesigns.com. So I always like to end with a quotation and some life updates. So first I'll give you the quotation, and I've been featuring kindness this year, and I really liked this. The very nature of kindness is to spread. If you are kind to others today, they will be kind to you, and tomorrow to somebody else. And that is so true. We know that giving kindness, it goes forward, doesn't it? So my life update is, why is this week so busy? In fact, the next couple, and you know what? I'm sure they are for you too. So I have been on a committee from our church for the last probably 6 months to put on a bazaar. And it is coming up this Saturday, and I was on the part of the committee that was choosing the artists. So it's a wonderful event. We've done this every year for, I think, 15 years. There are 30 artists who are invited to participate, and they have a broad range of items and products. And but what I found out, it's a lot of work. We have meetings every day this week to get ready for it, but it's all worth it because it's the largest fundraiser that our church has, and actually it's a lot of fun. I always find great things for my family, for stocking gifts, etc. Thanksgiving, of course, is next week, and thankfully our daughter is hosting Thanksgiving, which we usually take turns on who hosts the major holidays. I always say about this time of year, it's my favorite term, egads. There's just so much to do. I have to keep looking at my calendar to make sure I don't miss anything. And then the next event that's happening is our great-granddaughter Vea turns 2, and she's having a birthday party in December. So we're all very excited about that. I'm sure she'll be spinning as she does. So the last thing is how to contact me. My email, judy@jbwdesigns.com. I have a Friends of JBW Designs Facebook page, and you can sign up and join that if you wish. That's where a lot of finishes are posted. And I have an Instagram account that is judy.whitman. So thank you for watching, and I have to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I know that not all of you have family or friends nearby that you can spend Thanksgiving with, but I hope you find something that gives you joy, because you're all in our hearts, knowing that sometimes the holidays aren't easy for some of our viewers. So just wanted to say that, and thank you again, and hopefully keep your fingers crossed. I'll be here in a couple weeks. Bye-bye.